Yo, what's up, gamers? Welcome back to the channel, and today, I'm gonna be playing Genshin Impact. Are you surprised I didn't already? Now, I know you may be thinking, gee Spectra, are you really gonna lose your dignity? Are you really gonna become fatherless? Are you really gonna let the Chinese install a backdoor on your system? And to that I say... And so after installing the Chinese police state, it's finally time to see what all the hype is about. I mean, it won at the Game Awards, so it can't be that bad. I don't get it. You know, I think I need some kind of a guide. You know, someone who can tell me what to do so I don't embarrass myself. But the only person I know who plays this game is... him!
Meow.
Hey Fatty, I just got this game, can you?
No!
But I didn't even ask you anything yet.
I'm going to explode Bob.
What a dick. Oh well, I didn't need him. He also plays Geometry Dash, so he's probably a sex offender. Or something. Oh well, time to play it solo. The game starts with the two main characters fighting against a crazy lady who uses the power of geometry to fight. This big explosion happens and we can pick what character we want to play as. I of course go with the girl because I'd rather not look at man-ass for hours on end. Of course after I had to pick a name that doesn't sound too desperate. Man-ass McGee and Crotchmaster then become one with the geometry, and the screen cuts to black. Now at this point the player's left with several questions like who asked, who cares, and what the hell is a Genshin? We then cut back to reality on the beach and we're introduced to Paimon, who is the main reason I play this game on mute. After quickly switching to the Japanese voice acting and rewatching The Wolf of Wall Street, we are ready to enter the world of Teyvat. We begin our journey by slaughtering the wildlife. As you do. At this point we meet our second playable character, Amber the Bitch. At this point she just starts talking, and we finally get to introduce ourselves the only way we know how. The first gameplay in this game comes in the form of combat. Here you can see Crotchmaster fighting against those guys from Zelda, which, as she would soon find out, is the majority of enemies in this game. After our main characters enter the Mondstadt city, a giant dragon descends from the heavens and decides to wreak havoc on the town. But this isn't any ordinary dragon, because it can summon stones from mid-air. After summoning a bunch of tornadoes that don't do any damage to the surrounding houses, Crotchmaster gets swept up in one of them and gets launched into the sky. This is the first boss fight of the game. I never said it was a good one. Unfortunately, after blowing out its back, it just runs off like a little pussy. After defeating the dragon, we're rewarded with some more dialogue. And don't worry, the dialogue options don't do anything. And so, just like the last game I reviewed, you gotta do a little bit of this. We then have to walk over to this building over here and... really? More cutscenes and dialogue? Come on, these hands yearn to do something else. Like, what does this button do? Oh, sweet! Gambling!
I did say the age of consent should be 12. You know why I said that? I knew girls that were like 12, 13, 14. Fucking on the regular. It has nothing to do with me being a pedophile.
Now that we're free to roam the land in the body of a literal child, we quickly discover you can't kill the NPCs. And that they're also fireproof. You know, I don't think I'm quite getting this game. I think I need some extra help. You know, from someone who's not on a government watch list. Hey listen, I need your help. You're the only other person I know who likes anime.
Who told you I like anime?
It's in your name.
Oh, well, I'm busy.
Doing what? Oh, that's funny. I was asking for your help in anything that related.
I believe you get me nitro. How do you already need help? You didn't even finish the tutorial yet.
The massive world of Teyvat is, well... elephantine. There's things to do everywhere. For example, these statues that help fill in your map and give you a place to recover your health. Or domains which give you a challenge as well as waypoints. You know, kinda like Zelda. But, unlike Zelda, the open world isn't completely dead. Well, it's better already.
Wait, who's that?
Meow.
Oh, what the hell? I thought you said you were gonna help!
Please, I just the flowers from the wall. You need flowers to level Crotchmaster.
Oh, you son of a bitch. There's a couple different countries in the game. The player starts out on Mondstadt, which is basically just the generic grasslands area. It also houses the game's only real mountain area, which, by the way, is the worst area in the game. Then there's Liu, which is basically just Mondstadt with bigger rocks. It also has this big hole, which leads to an entire underground area of the map. This is probably the most boring part of the game. Then there's Inazuma, which is a collection of islands. Most of the time it's pretty bland, but it does have its moments. And then there's Samara, which is the best country in the game. Mostly because I haven't played through it enough to find anything wrong with it. That is, until you look over there. Yeah, that's right, this game isn't a looker, among other things. Graphically speaking, everything in this game was designed to be a knockoff of Breath of the Wild. From the art style to the enemy design, it's safe to say that this was meant to be a knockoff. But hey, to its credit, it does address Breath of the Wild's biggest problem, which is the dead open world. Yeah, that's right, Breath of the Wild was ass. Only the hottest takes are allowed on this channel. With gameplay and graphics like this game would do well on the Switch. We basically have a mobile game that you can pick up and play anywhere that would fill the hole left by Zelda. Which just makes this next fact really surprising.
You sure do seem to hate geometry.
It is what Craftmaster is fighting in the opening, and she actually has a name.
I need more resources.
But you already stole every fucking plant.
Okay, how about we fight a boss that they give accession materials?
No, let's go get a job and buy gems to buy the resources.
Well, I'm allergic to employment!
Okay, let's just go fight a boss. Just like most of the Game of the Year nominees, the majority of this game's main quest is just cutscenes and dialogue. And I think you can already understand why I don't like this game. Hint, hint. Hell, some of the quests are even entirely cutscenes and dialogue. Or if you're like me who decided to completely ignore the main quest entirely, you'll be able to actually enjoy what this game has to offer. This is fun. The combat in this game is incredibly satisfying. The game uses an elemental combat system. Different elements will have different interactions with each other and produce different results in a fight. You can think about it as a more fleshed out version of Pokemon types. The way to trigger these reactions is to use your character's skill. Skills are just your elemental attacks. Using them will generate you energy. You can use this energy to activate your character's burst attack, which is pretty much just a stronger version of your skill in most cases. The game does a good job at encouraging the player to use different characters and playstyles, depending on the situation. It's honestly pretty satisfying when you're at the beginning of the game. While there are many different ways to approach the same problem, you'll constantly find yourself fighting the exact same enemies over and over and over and over again. There just is not enough variety in the combat to keep it interesting. You know, kinda like Breath of the Wild. But back to where this game differentiates itself from Zelda, the open world isn't a complete wasteland. There's actually things to find and explore. I found myself exploring the world for hours on end. Well, the good parts at least. Seriously though, who thought this was a good idea? Probably the most disappointing thing about this game are the bosses. I already showed you that pathetic excuse for our name trainer, but it doesn't really get much better from there. In fact, you fight it again, except this time, a little bit more difficult. But actually that's just the first phase. In the second phase you actually get to fight it using the main gameplay loop. But that's still not enough to make it a good fight. The fight pretty much just boils down to breaking its shield and hitting its horn. So nothing crazy there. And just so we're on the same level, no one from the story actually dies in this game. So, make of that what you will. After about another 10 hours of dialogue, we find ourselves on a floating palace fighting a giant sea monster. And then this lady summons a magic floor, then a bunch of animals summon ballistas. As someone who didn't read any of the dialogue, I am just as lost as you are. Actually, I was lying. We're not fighting the sea monster. We're fighting a bunch of goth people that show up, and their difficulty is trivial at best. This fight drags on for like 10 minutes of fighting the same 5 enemies over and over again, none of which being particularly difficult at this stage of the game. Remember this for later. After the gauntlet, some furry kid shows up, and Crotchmaster decides to finish the fight as quickly as possible, by dropping a building into the ocean. No one said saving China would be easy. Then there's also world bosses, which exist for the purpose of farming resources. You can find them scattered throughout the world, even when you're at the early game. Take for instance this green cube that you find near the start of the game. Your goal is to hit that diamond thing, while dodging attacks composed of geometry. As a new player, I thought this boss was gonna give me something cool like a sword or whatever. and not just level up materials for characters I don't have unlocked yet. I wish I knew that before fighting it. So I decided that I was gonna kill it no matter what. And I'm just gonna tell you now, I really shouldn't have tried it. You see, there was two big problems. The first being the massive health pool. Now, if I had made any progress in the game, it wouldn't have been so bad. But I didn't do that at the time. The second was the fact that basically every hit from the boss would knock out one of my characters. So I decided to abuse one of the game's mechanics to change Amber's type from Pyro to Type 2 Diabetic. I then got to this part of the fight and was completely clueless of what to do. To which I was then devastated when the boss recovered half of its health. Turns out you're actually just supposed to walk into those little energy balls. This was not worth it. You totally won't get tired of fighting these bosses, especially not if you're trying to level up a specific character. Because the materials needed to level up characters is boss specific, you'll be having to fight them over and over and over again. And then there's domain bosses.
I'm gonna be Yanfei.
No, I'm gonna be Yanfei.
A few moments later.
Oh my
You should
god,
fucking
there's
die.
men
You
everywhere.
should
They're all on
fucking
top
die.
of me. I love it. This is my dream. I'm so happy
should
right now.
fucking die.
There's men everywhere.
You should
Oh
fucking
my
die.
goodness.
Meanwhile.
You should have been Yanfei.
The main reason for the game's success is because of the characters. More specifically, what people want to do to the characters. There's a wide range of characters in the game, most of which being terrible. Early on in the game, you better hope that you get a good 4-star character that'll carry you through most of the game. In my case, it was Yanfei, but your experience may vary.
Have you seen Hu Tao with a penis? Oh my god, dude, it's so big.
What the fuck?
Like, every night I go to sleep and like I think about it in my dreams.
Why are you like this? Why are you like this?
It's a condition. I can't help
You should
myself.
fucking die. You should fucking
I know, but I can't. I need to live with Hu Tao forever in my dreams.
Alright gamers, it's time to talk about our 3 favorite things. Wishes, Prima Gems, and pedophilia. If you're gonna have any success in the late game, you're gonna need to plan out which 5 stars you pull for. Believe it or not, but not every character is worth the 2 months it takes to collect enough Prima Gems to buy enough wishes to guarantee a 5 star. I mean what I'm about to say next from the bottom of my heart. This is probably the most fun part of the game. Call me an addict, but gambling is fun. But there's something special about the system in this game, being that it's completely fair. I mean, it must be if Mr. Lootbox Bat himself was willing to lend his voice to the game. In order to be able to wish, you need to collect Prima Gems, which is a grueling process. As a new player, you get a lot from events and the main quests, but outside of that, well, I hope you like monotony. There's a couple different ways to earn Prima Gems. The first being daily quests, in which you can earn up to 60 Prima Gems a day. I don't know, some of these were kinda weird. I mean, who in their right mind is paying me to play whack-a-mole with a bunch of mushrooms? Then there's also pathetic ways to earn them, like getting 2 from a chest. Thanks, I guess. The main way you'll be getting Prima Gems is from events, and they basically just give them away. I'll be talking more about the events later, but for now know that because of the Prima Gems, you're basically forced to play them. Most of the time you'll get some 3-star weapon you'll never use, or if you're lucky you'll get a 4-star weapon. Very rarely will you actually get a character. Now if you're going for a 5-star, you basically have a 1% chance of getting it, up until you get 75 wishes in. The game has a pity system which will increase the rate of getting a 5-star character beyond that point. And so after months of grinding, you finally got enough wishes to guarantee you get the 5-star of your dreams. The one that inspired you to play this game after you saw a piece of art not safe for YouTube on the internet. Finally, the shooting star turns yellow, and now you have the character you've always wanted. Oh hey, I know what that is! A lie! Yeah, that's right. There's a 50-50 mechanic even if you do get the 5-star. Wow, I just won the lottery! Time to see if I redeem the ticket or not.
But you have a chance of getting a little girl instead!
Oh, shut up!
Wow, look at me. I believe the age of consent should be higher than 12. Ooh.
Yanfei!
Well, now that you've gotten some characters, it's time to build them up. This part of the game is where most of your playtime will come from, because it is a grueling process. The first thing you need to worry about is your character's level. Now, if this were a normal RPG, you just have to kill a bunch of characters to level up, but thankfully this game does things a little bit differently. You see, you have to kill a bunch of characters that spawn inside of a bunch of blue circles. The XP you earn from killing regular enemies is so small that it's smaller than, well, you know what. The next thing you have to worry about is your weapon. In my entire time playing the game, I've never once run out of level up materials for weapons. After you reach certain milestones with leveling up characters and weapons, you'll need to ascend them. To do so, you need to use special resources found throughout the world. For the higher levels, it becomes a ridiculous grind to collect these. Then there's probably the hardest part of team building, artifacts. In order to get artifacts, you need to grind them out in challenges. There are different sets of artifacts, each with different set bonuses. You are able to transmute artifacts from one set to another, but it's rather expensive to do so. Now I know what you may be thinking. Gee, it's not so bad, you just have to collect one in each category, right? No. No, you do not. You see, artifacts have different stats. There's a main stat that increases each level, and then there's various different substats that increase every 4 levels. Which substat increases and the amount it increases is completely random. So we have to keep getting new artifacts until we get the stats that we want. Depending on your luck, this could take days to weeks to do, for each character. Oh, and by the way, the level up materials for artifacts is other artifacts. So that means that even if you get the one you want, you have to keep grinding out artifacts so that way you can level it up. And then finally, there's talents. These are basically the moves the character can perform. Leveling these up require really specific resources, especially at higher levels. For example, if you want to max out the talent, you need one of these crowns. You can only get one of them each patch, and a patch for the uninitiated is every time the game is updated. So yeah, you're basically at the dev's mercy. The way you get most of the stuff you need to build out your characters is from domains. And if you thought you could just spend 12 hours no-lifing the game to upgrade your character, you're sorely mistaken. The developers are smart, so they added a measure to make sure that you keep playing the game every day of the week, which is locking certain rewards behind certain days of the week.
Your mom is like finding specific days of the week.
What does that even mean?
I would tell you, but I'm also allergic to logic and reasoning.
Another measure they added is a time-locking currency called resin. You need to claim rewards from basically anything. Bosses, domains, spheres. You even needed to claim your groceries. You can either wait for it to recover naturally, or you can use fragile resin, which will recover 60 resin. And when your limit's 160, that's not great. Or of course you can buy with primogems, which you can buy with money. And while we're on the topic of restrictive currency, there's also Mora. You need it to do basically everything in the game, whether it's upgrading your weapon or crafting something. So as you can imagine, you might run out of it at some point. However, unless you're grinding at this game every day, it's not really something you should be concerned about. As a matter of fact, I only recently ran out of it. And just like with everything else in this game, you gotta grind to get more. Or of course, hand over your credit card. As for the challenges themselves, they're extremely boring and repetitive. The only challenge with these is the fact that some of the enemies can become complete tanks at higher levels. I mean, it takes me 5 minutes just to kill this one guy. Alright, you know the drill. Hey, that sounds exactly like Breath of the Wild! Okay, back to where it differentiates itself. As part of being a live service, the game has to ship constant updates. And while that's difficult for some, this game excels in that. Mostly because of a little something called... There's basically always an event going on. Most are just challenges, but they typically have a quest line to go along with them. The good ones have some kind of combat challenge, or some kind of minigame that you have to complete. And then as for the rest... well, I hope you like walking. Some of these events were just completely boring. For example, taking pictures.
Taking pictures of little girls.
Of plants.
Fuck you.
Or how about this event which had you play through different sports? Some of these were just terrible. The physics and gameplay mechanics of the game does not lend well to making sports. Now I get it, it's not going to be a one-to-one translation, but it shouldn't suck this much.
But you can play soccer with your face, yes!
If there's a chance I have to kick a field goal with Jean, it's not worth it. Then there's also special events, which you do in a web browser. Ideally something that's not Google Chrome, but it's not picky. They're pretty much just small browser games that earn you rewards in the main game. Speaking of the web browser, there's a lot of resources for this game online. For example, an online map that lets you track resources, and guides for how to build out certain characters. I'll be sure to leave links in the description for anyone who's still interested in this game after watching this video. But I guess if you take my advice, you won't be needing them.
I'm starting to think you don't like little girls.
No! What gives you that idea?
Wow, you have ignored us to talk about how much you hate this game for the past, like, I don't know, 20 minutes.
The majority of this game's main quest is just cutscenes and dialogue, most of which being terrible. Yeah, that's right, Breath of the Wild was ass.
I'm leaving. I can't be near anyone who talks to themselves. I'm allergic.
Oh well, we didn't need him anyways.
I'm also leaving. You are willing to put up this game with for Yanfei. Plus, I don't think you have taken a shower since you started playing the game.
But I only started playing today. I think that after several months of playing this game, I'm qualified to give an opinion on it. This game blows. At best, it's mediocre. But it's not terrible. The lows of this game are really low. But the highs are pretty good. Obviously, this isn't the worst game in the world, because another game already holds that title. In the end, I may have lost my dignity, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie. When the game is good, it's good. But there's so much downtime and grind that I can't recommend this game. But if you do play it, there will be content updates for years to come. By the time I'm rotting in a nursing home, we may finally find out what happens to Man-Ass McGee. So, did I lose anything by playing the game? Well, for starters, it's free, so if you have even the slightest interest in playing, there's no cost to entry. So, did I lose anything? No. But Dad still hasn't come back with the milk.